Am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my sister to my wedding? My sister has always been a source of drama in my life. Growing up, she seemed to thrive on creating chaos. Whether it was with family, friends, or even strangers, I always tried to be the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed things over and tried to make everyone happy. But when it came to my wedding, I decided I couldn't do that anymore, and now I'm wondering if I'm the asshole for refusing to invite her. Our childhood wasn't exactly the stuff of fairy tales. Our parents were always working, trying to make ends meet, and that left a lot of room for my sister Emily to act out. She was the older sibling, and it felt like she took on the role of the troubled teen early on. I, on the other hand, was the classic middle child, trying to be the good one, the one who didn't cause any problems. As we grew up, Emily's antics only escalated. In high school, she was constantly in trouble for skipping class partying and hanging out with a rough crowd. My parents were always worried about her, and I felt like I had to be the perfect student to make up for her behavior. But it didn't matter how well I did in school or how hard I tried to stay out of trouble. Emily always managed to steal the spotlight with her latest drama. When Emily turned 18, she moved out of the house and into an apartment with her boyfriend. At the time, I thought things might get better with her out of the house, but they didn't. She would show up at home unannounced, needing money or a place to crash because she had gotten into yet another fight with her boyfriend. My parents always took her in, always tried to help her, but it never seemed to make a difference. Meanwhile, I went to college, got my degree, and met the love of my life. Jason was everything I had ever hoped for in a partner, kind, supportive, and understanding. We started planning our future together, and eventually he proposed. I was over the moon with happiness, but I knew that planning a wedding with Emily in the picture would be complicated. Jason knew all about Emily and the drama she brought with her. He had witnessed it firsthand at family gatherings and holidays. He supported my decision to distance myself from her, but he also knew how much family meant to me. When we started planning the guest list for our wedding, the topic of Emily inevitably came up. "Are you going to invite her?" Jason asked gently one evening as we sat on the couch going over the list. I sighed, feeling the weight of the decision. "I don't know. I want her to be there, but I don't want any drama. This day is supposed to be about us, about our love and our future." Jason nodded, understanding. "I get that. But maybe you should talk to her, see where she's at. Maybe she's changed." So I took his advice and called Emily. We hadn't spoken in months, and the conversation was awkward at first. But I told her about the engagement, about Jason and me planning the wedding, and that I wanted her to be there. But I was worried about any potential drama. Emily sounded genuinely happy for me, which was a surprise. She promised that she had changed, that she was in a better place now, and that she wouldn't cause any problems. I wanted to believe her, but a part of me was still skeptical. Still, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and told her I would send her an invitation. As the wedding day approached, things started to unravel. Emily called me one night, crying and saying that her latest boyfriend had kicked her out and she had nowhere to go. She asked if she could stay with Jason and me until she got back on her feet. I felt torn, but Jason and I agreed to let her stay with us temporarily. That decision turned out to be a mistake. Emily's presence in our home was disruptive. She would come and go at all hours, bringing strangers over without warning and generally creating a mess. Jason and I were both stressed and exhausted, trying to juggle our jobs, wedding planning, and now dealing with Emily's drama. One night things came to a head. Emily had a loud argument with one of her friends in our living room, waking us up in the middle of the night. Jason confronted her, asking her to keep it down and be more respectful of our home. Emily exploded, yelling at him and accusing him of trying to control her. She stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. The next morning, I found a note from Emily saying that she couldn't stay with us anymore and that she didn't want to be a burden. She also mentioned that she understood if I didn't want her at the wedding. I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I loved my sister, but I couldn't keep putting myself and my relationship with Jason through this turmoil. I talked to Jason about it, and he agreed that it might be best not to invite Emily to the wedding. It was a hard decision, but I felt it was the right one for our peace of mind and the happiness of our special day. I called Emily to let her know, and as expected, she didn't take it well. She accused me of abandoning her, of choosing Jason over family, and hung up on me. Word got back to our parents, and they were furious. They called me demanding to know why I was excluding Emily from the wedding. I tried to explain this situation, but they wouldn't hear it. They accused me of being heartless and said that family should come first, no matter what. I felt torn between my loyalty to my family and my need to protect my own happiness and sanity. The wedding day came, and despite the tension with my family, it was beautiful. Jason and I exchanged vows in front of our closest friends and loved ones. There were no disruptions, no drama, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace and joy. But the absence of my sister was a shadow that lingered in the back of my mind. After the wedding, I tried to reach out to Emily again, hoping to mend the rift, but she refused to talk to me, saying that she could never forgive me for what I had done. My parents also remained distant, their disappointment clear. It hurt, but I knew I had made the right decision for my own well-being and for the future I was building with Jason. As time went on, I focused on my marriage and building a life with Jason. We faced challenges, but we faced them together as a team. I learned to set boundaries, to prioritize my own happiness and mental health, even when it meant making difficult decisions about family. I still hoped that one day Emily and I could reconcile, but I knew that it had to be on healthier terms. Looking back, I realized that I had spent so much of my life trying to keep the peace, trying to fix things that were beyond my control. My wedding was a turning point, a moment where I chose to prioritize my own happiness and the happiness of the person I loved most. It wasn't easy, and it came with a lot of pain and guilt, but it was necessary. In the end, I learned that sometimes you have to make hard choices to protect yourself and your future. Family is important, but so are you, and sometimes making the hard choices is the only way to move forward and find peace. Our honeymoon was a blissful escape from all the stress. We went to a beautiful island resort where we could relax and enjoy each other's company without any interruptions. It was the perfect start to our marriage, and it reaffirmed my belief that I had made the right decision. But when we returned, reality hit hard. Emily had been spreading rumors about me while we were away. She told our extended family that I had abandoned her in her time of need and that I was selfish and heartless. My parents called me again this time, even angrier than before. They accused me of turning my back on my family and said that they didn't know who I was anymore. I was devastated. I had hoped that the wedding and the time apart would help everyone cool down, but it seemed like things were only getting worse. I tried to defend myself, but my parents were too hurt and angry to listen. I felt like I was losing my family, and there was nothing I could do about it. Jason was my rock through all of this. He reminded me that we had made our decision for the right reasons, and that we couldn't let Emily's actions ruin our happiness. He encouraged me to focus on our future and to keep reaching out to my family in hopes that they would eventually come around. I continued to reach out to Emily, but she ignored my calls and texts. I even tried visiting her apartment, but she wouldn't answer the door. It was like she had completely shut me out, and it broke my heart. I missed my sister despite all the drama, and I just wanted to find a way to make things right. One day I received a call from my aunt. She had always been a mediator in our family, someone who tried to keep the peace and bring people together. She told me that she wanted to have a family meeting to try and resolve the issues between Emily and me. I was hesitant, but I agreed, hoping that it might be a step toward reconciliation. The family meeting was tense. My parents, Emily, and I sat in my aunt's living room with a palpable sense of unease. My aunt started by asking each of us to share our feelings and perspectives. I went first, explaining my side of the story and why I had made the decision not to invite Emily to the wedding. I was honest about the pain and chaos her actions had caused and how it had affected my relationship with Jason. Emily went next. She was angry and hurt, accusing me of abandoning her and not caring about her struggles. She said that she felt betrayed and that I had chosen Jason over our family. My parents echoed her sentiments, saying that they felt I had turned my back on them. The conversation was emotional and difficult, but it was also necessary. We talked for hours, going over old wounds and trying to understand each other's perspectives. It wasn't easy, and there were many tears and raised voices. But by the end of it, I felt like we had made some progress. My aunt suggested that we try family therapy to continue working on our issues. It was something I had never considered, but I agreed, hoping that it might help us heal. My parents and Emily were reluctant, but they eventually agreed as well. We started attending therapy sessions together, and while it was a slow process, it felt like we were finally making some headway. Through therapy, I learned more about Emily's struggles and why she acted the way she did. I gained a new perspective on her pain and felt a renewed sense of empathy for her. She also started to understand the impact her actions had on me and my relationship with Jason. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. Over time, my relationship with my family began to improve. My parents started to see that I hadn't abandoned them, but had made a difficult decision to protect my own well-being and happiness. Emily and I started to rebuild our bond slowly and cautiously. It was a long road, but we were making progress. Jason and I continued to build our life together. Our love grew stronger with each passing day, and we faced every challenge as a team. We learned to communicate better, to support each other, and to set boundaries with our families when needed. Our marriage wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. Looking back on everything we went through, I realized that my wedding was more than just a celebration of our love. It was a turning point, a moment where I chose to stand up for myself and prioritize my own happiness. It was a difficult decision, but it was the right one. To anyone reading this who might be facing a similar dilemma, I want to say that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being, and the well-being of your relationship. Family is important, but so are you, and sometimes making the hard choices is the only way to move forward and find peace. So am I the asshole for refusing to invite my sister to my wedding? Maybe some people will think so, but I did what I had to do to protect my happiness and my future with Jason, and for that, I have no regrets.